Hello, welcome. My name is Jason Hines. I'm CEO and co-founder of Gigasheet. Really excited to talk to you guys today about data delivery solutions that we offer. There are a lot of things that Gigasheet can do in terms of analysis, data preparation, data transformation, and cleaning. We just announced a whole slew of integrations with different enterprise data warehouses like BigQuery, Redshift, Snowflake, Databricks, MySQL, and others. And we're actually not going to talk a lot about that today. We're going to focus on our data delivery. I highly encourage you to check out our YouTube channel where we have videos and other demos. If you do have questions on any topic whatsoever, we'll try to get to those at the end. You can put those in the Q&A panel. With that, let's get into it. I'm joined today by Will Andrews, our head of product and marketing, and Steve Sean, who leads up technical solutions here, and he's going to do a live demo. So we'll see how that goes. Always exciting. I think it shaves a few hours off his life every time we do this, but he's a strong man. So we'll see how that goes. All right, let's get started. So real quick, I'm just going to give a short background on kind of Gigasheet and why we started this company. We found that, a lot of times, if you could just work with data in a spreadsheet, you can answer your question, right? Spreadsheets are amazing for ad hoc analysis. They're used by almost 1 billion people worldwide. And it's just kind of the common language of business. Everybody's familiar with the interface, but the spreadsheets aren't perfect. That's why we have data warehouses and databases. Spreadsheets have limited capacity in general. It's hard to reproduce an analytic that you develop in a spreadsheet. If somebody sends you a spreadsheet, they're not exactly sure where the data came from, or while you could see formulas and things, you may not know exactly how it was pieced together step by step. And it can create islands of tech debt, especially when you aren't able to capture those and it just resides on somebody's laptop somewhere. Users can often find answers on their own, but it's almost never that easy. It requires, imagine you're delivering a really large data set to a consumer. I'm sure you've experienced this where you get like, hey, can you include these columns? Or could you help me split it into smaller files? Or could you include some data on this or group it in that fashion? And it just leads to a lot of back and forth and inefficiency. And we felt like if we could give users sort of huge data sets or access to their warehouses or databases in a familiar interface, that would solve a lot of problems. And so that's sort of what we did. It's really based on this idea that not everybody can write code like Python or SQL, but they do understand how to use this common interface of spreadsheets. And that's really what we're taking advantage of with Gigasheet. And it's this interface here. If you haven't seen Gigasheet, you can sign up for a free account and try it with files up to 100,000 rows. We'd be happy to take you through a live demo or trial of using it on top of your data store, whether it's a data lake, database, or data warehouse. And as you can see in this animation, it allows you to do some very common things that databases provide, like grouping, aggregations, and filtering. We'll dive more into that later. But that's really kind of the idea behind Gigasheet. Today, we have over 140,000 users globally, which is awesome. And the whole idea is just we make working with huge data as easy as using a spreadsheet. With that, I'm done with my kind of intro spiel, and we'll get into the topic of the day, which is, all right, if I have large data sets that I want to distribute dynamically throughout my organization, or maybe to my end user consumer clients, how do I do that with Gigasheet? And I'm going to hand it over to Will, who's going to talk to you about how our data delivery solution works.
All right, thanks, Jason. So no matter your role today, we live in a world of big data, right? So if you're in marketing, if you're in operations, if you're in finance, you're going to be looking at high volumes of data. So web activity, purchases, you're looking at SKU data. Once you add a time series to it, data is going to accumulate very fast, and you're going to have the need to share the data. So today, sharing can be a pain, right? You're going to probably create some sort of online link, and they're going to download it, and it's going to create one of those data islands that Jason mentioned, where there's a stale data set that's just residing on someone's hard drive. And even once the data is on their hard drive, once they open it, you can't be sure what software they're using. Are they going to hit something like a Microsoft Excel limit or a Google Sheet limit? It's just going to lead to this cumbersome back and forth, right? And additionally, if you're a data provider and you're selling data, you could spend the time and money on a customer portal to take away those problems, to guarantee that your clients are going to see the data the way you want it. But that's a big upfront investment. So getting these big data sets to the people that need them the most is a challenge. Luckily, Gigasheet's here, and we have, purposely built a spreadsheet interface that anyone can use, and it works great for data delivery. If you can use a spreadsheet, you can use Gigasheet. It's actually easier for things like grouping data and aggregations than a traditional spreadsheet like Excel. Like, no one ever remembers how to set up a pivot table. There's also no training required with Gigasheet. We do offer it. We have a great success team, support team, but usually anyone can immediately hop into Gigasheet, look at the UI, and figure out how to analyze their data. And since it's on the cloud, there's nothing to install, there's nothing to tune, nothing to maintain. We handle all that, and you can just send the big files, and it can easily be previewed and consumed. So let's talk about the types of data distribution. Generally there's the internal data distribution, aka enterprise type data distribution, and there's external. So this is more for like customers who want to sell data to externally or to share data outside their organization. For internal enterprise users, there's usually the data administrator or the BI team trying to distribute it to the departments, and they want to give their department users row level detail, right? So they want to give them all million transactions, right? And that's very hard to do using traditional software. Gigasheet has a team workspace so that data can be added to the team workspace, and anyone within the organization can go and pull the data out of the workspace. And the data can be added to this workspace via automation. So it's not like you're uploading a file manually. We automate the whole thing, takes away the cumbersome back and forth. And Gigasheet can also integrate with your company's single sign-on to manage your users. So the whole thing can be seamless, and the business users, the marketing users will have the data they need when they need it. And then if you're thinking the external use case of data distribution, let's say we've got to deliver a data artifact to a third party. We make it very easy. You do not need to create your own portal. Gigasheet has a data delivery option that the pricing scales with your business. So as you add more clients, they can use Gigasheet, and you can preview the data, purchase the data, validate that it meets their needs, and then they can download it for their own purposes. So we're gonna stop the slides here and move into the presentations. And the first one we're gonna do is that use case I was just talking about, which is the external client delivery. So in this scenario, Steve is gonna be a data provider, and he sells lists of leads to various companies. And I am going to be Will at a small solar company. And he's going to go through, using Gigasheet, create a list of leads that he's going to sell to me. He's going to share it with me. We're going to walk through that. You're going to see how I can receive the file and what I can do with the file once I receive it. So, Steve, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Cool. Thank you. Let's see how many months off my life this takes. All right. So I'm sharing my screen. What you see here is roughly 54 million rows of contact data. This scenario, as Will mentioned, is actually mimicked off of a couple different customers of ours who have come to us with these large data sets. And no matter what kind of data it is, they all have this use case of they want to deliver slices of the master data set to consumers. So make a much smaller subset and deliver that subset to consumers. This anonymized data, you can see it's got first names and last names and email addresses and so on, city, state, and there's even a self-reported interest column. So you might think of the kind of stuff you would get from LinkedIn. As Jason mentioned, this is not a demo on all of the features of Gigasheet, but I will create a quick little filter here to show how to get from this 53 million rows to a manageable subset for, in this case, Will, my customer who is looking to sell solar panels in North Carolina. So I'm going to start with that self-reported interest column. And I'm going to use a contains phrase here And I'm going to start typing in a lot of different phrases here. So I'm going to go with solar. I'm going to go with green tech. I'm going to go with clean tech. I'm going to go with green energy and maybe clean energy. And you can see as I type in that little comma separated list, I can choose them all. So because I know that Will is in North Carolina and he is looking to sell solar panels in that region of the country, I'm going to say the state equals, I'm going to say North Carolina. We'll also do South Carolina and Virginia. And when I press apply, this will take a few seconds, but there we go, 9,949 rows of data in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. And as I scroll over here, you see that people are interested in clean energy, clean technology, green technology, and so on. So I've gone from my 53 million records of potential contacts, and now I've got this discrete 10,000 row list that I can deliver to Will, who's interested in how to target solar panel potential customers. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save off this result set. So I'm going to call this one solar targets in North Carolina and save the results. It'll just take a few seconds. And what that's going to do is it's going to save the visible rows, the rows matching the filters that I've applied, as well as whichever columns that I have visible. In this case, I've got all the columns visible. But if I go back to my library now, I see that there's those 53.9 million records that I pulled in from Snowflake. Here's the 9,900 for these solar targets. Because this account is on a data delivery license, I can now share this. And when I share it, the person who receives it will automatically be upgraded to have the capabilities necessary. And in this case, I'm giving him view and edit access. View and edit. So Will in North Carolina at genericsolarcompany.com is going to receive a share link to this file. And then when this account logs in, they'll automatically be upgraded to have the capabilities necessary to work with it. I'm going to press invite. I'm going to turn it back over to Will so you could see what he sees as Will in North Carolina.
All right, thanks, Steve. Let me open that account. Okay, so I am logged in as Will in North Carolina at Generic Solar Company. I would have received an email, like Steve said, and once I log into my account, voila, Solar Targets in North Carolina is here from Steve. I can open it, and I can see that it has 9,000, almost 10,000 rows. And once I receive this file, because Steve gave me view and edit, I can actually edit it. So, if I was purchasing a list like this for marketing purposes, I might want to group it, let's say by city, and just to look at the data and see how good the data is. And I can see here, by city, I can see the number of contacts. You can expand it just like a pivot table in Excel, and you can see the row level detail. And I'm generally pleased with this data. The other thing I can do is I can use the features of Gigasheet in because I am a fully authorized user. So let's say I want to add a column just as notes. I can add a blank column in here. And once I add that, it's going to add it to the file because I have edit access. And I can go through my notes column and write things as I go, like interesting, not interesting, not interesting. So I have full edit access to the file. I just showed you how I group it. And the other things that we can do in Gigasheet, which we won't really cover today, is enrichments. You can go through your data and use like Chat GPT. And what you can do here is you can write a prompt. You can say like, write an email to each of these people, and I could insert column references saying first name, last name, is sort of like a mail merge, right? And I could have GPT then write an email to each of these people. So you can use the file, and the other thing you can do is I can come here and I can download to CSV, and it'll say download started. And once that download's gone, we'll get a notification that it's built my download file and we've downloaded. So Yep, click here to download, and I can hit download, and it will show up on my PC. So you can use, it's not just a data distribution mechanism, it's actually a tool they can use to work with the data. So that's the first scenario where we're dealing with an external data delivery. Let's talk more about internal data delivery. So the second scenario here is Steve is going to take the role of a data administrator, and at Acme Corp, we collect all sorts of transactions from Snowflake, and they're loaded into our data. They're loaded into the Snowflake, and then we want to share it to the different departments: marketing, finance, operations, using Gigasheet. Right? This is the real world scenario of we probably have some sort of tool at our company where they have dashboards, and there's this guy in marketing named Will, and he wants the real level detail, and he's like, just give me the data, right? But it's too big for Excel, so we need a tool to get that. So I'm going to let Steve start the demo here and show you how we use our team workspace to distribute data, and then I'll take the role of Will in marketing and show you what it looks like on my end.
Thank you again. All right, back on my screen now, we're in a different data set. These are transactional sales records. You see I've got 37 million records here. And the data here includes customer ID, invoice dates, descriptions, the country it was sold from, various transaction data, and so on. The idea here is that you have one big data set that a lot of different teams internally need access to. So compared to the previous scenario, where you were distributing slices of the data to individual consumers, here you want everyone to have access to everything. Because it's an internal data set, and customer success probably wants to be able to filter down to a specific customer. IT probably wants to monitor invoices coming in to make sure there aren't any outages and to see how the systems have been performing. Marketing probably wants to have access to know which countries have been part of the most transactions, and so on. And obviously, sales probably wants to know sales. So what you can do with something like this is, first, I'm going to create a couple really quick views just to help people out. So I'm going to group it by country here. And so this country is just going to give me all of the data, and I might do a quick little sum here of sales amount. So the marketing team can understand how much has been sold in each country. I'm going to do a quick view here. And then I'm also going to do a view. I'm going to filter down to one specific customer to see how much one specific customer has purchased. I'm going to do this, VIP customer filter. And press create. And now that I've got these views created that various teams can use as a starting point, essentially, to jump to, what I can do is I can go back to my library here. And so this is currently in my library, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it to the team workspace. So I've got this team workspace that everyone on my team has access to. And I've already created a folder called transaction data in there, and I'm going to move this entire sheet into the transaction data folder within my team workspace. And I can come up here into my settings and see specifically who's on my team. So now everyone who's on my team has access to that big folder. And so in this case, Will in marketing at acmecorp.com is going to be able to log in, but Jason in finance would be able to, Garth in IT would be able to, and so on. Everyone have access to this team now has access to that file that's in my account. So it's a really nice way to share for consumption these really giant files. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Will so you can see what he sees.
All right, thank you, Steve. Once again, putting on my Will in marketing hat. You can see Will in marketing at Acme is my account. If I go to my library, it takes me immediately to Acme Workspace, where I can see the online sales records from Snowflake. So if I open this, same file Steve gave me, a couple things though. One, the views that he added are available to me. Any views created in the team workspace are available to the end users, which is nice for data distribution. So I can immediately come in here and say, all right, I'm in marketing, by country. All right, very cool. And here they are, right? So Steve has passed me the data the way it's going to be, the way I want to consume it. So you can go ahead and set up these views for your, recurring task, and then I can come in and I can add, whatever filter I need for my team. So let's say I am working with my marketing team in Germany. I can filter just to Germany, and I can do file, save results, and it will make a copy, and we'll call this German sales, save results. And now I've created a subset that I can then further distribute with just my team. I can give them edit access so we can create and edit columns, just like we did in the other example. So really valuable way to share big data sets, to slice big data sets, and then to also view subsets that you want. So here's my slice, right? This only has 5 million rows, and it is filtered down to just Germany. So pretty cool. And then this file, I can edit. If I want to come in here and this was actually US, I can change. So I'm not editing the source data, but I'm editing my copy that I can then further share with my marketing team individually, or I could even share outside the organization if we were set up to allow that. So that's the example of data distribution using the team workspace. You've now seen both team workspace sharing, individual sharing, inside an organization, outside an organization. And just a quick recap of what we showed today. Team workspace is available to our business enterprise customers. Anybody that is, any files that are put in that workspace is immediately available throughout the organization. You can share data sets with granular controls. We can invite people externally to use Gigasheet, and once they're in Gigasheet, they can manipulate the data. They can use it as a spreadsheet. So it's not just a way for them to view the data and download it. They can actually use the data. One more thing we did not show, but you can actually embed data as one more sharing option. If I come in here to my German sales, and let's say I have an intranet where for just my German marketing, I can actually hit embed and get a script, and I can publish my German sales sheet within our intranet. So one more option that we did not cover, but is available. And we covered shared views. Shared views are, you saw Steve preloaded views that were available throughout the organization through the team workspace. We didn't demo comments, but obviously you can comment on cells and rows and columns and have back and forth conversations. And lastly, everything that you've seen here can be automated. So in Steve's scenario, the data would flow from Snowflake into Gigasheet. We could automate the creation of the views, and it could be distributed automatically via our API. So, imports and data transformations can be automated. And that covers the content we wanted to share today. At this point, we'd love to hear from you for some Q&A. So I'll stop talking and let's let the questions come in.
Yeah, thanks, Will and Steve, for doing that. Went well, always fun live demo. So congratulations on that. Yeah, we had a couple questions in the chat. One I went ahead and answered, but one of the questions was when you added a column in that first example with the solar company, did that mutate the underlying data set, or was it specific to you? And in that example, and in the second one as well, certainly in the first one, though, it's specific to you. So it was a copy that we made for Will. There are options where you can configure it to allow users to edit and update the underlying data. For example, maybe you need users in your organization to help with cleanup. That is definitely a use case that we support as well. There was another question here, and I'll let Steve or Will answer this one, but can you restrict downloading or export? For example, I could imagine, I don't know if this is what the question was about, but let's say I wanted to give somebody access to just preview the data that, if I'm a data as a service provider, I want to just let them preview the files, but I don't want them to export it. Steve.
Yes, you can. You can absolutely do that. You would work with us and set the terms of the share so that when you share with your workspace to view only access, the people would only be able to view the data, but not be able to download the data and get a local copy on their machine.
Right. Will mentioned this at the end, but another question that came in kind of before he got to it was, is this always done manually or can you automate it? To be honest, most people automate it. They aren't going in manually and setting files. I mean, some people are. You can definitely do that as an option. It's a quick way to do it. But if you're delivering data on a continuous basis, for example, you'll want to automate it with our API, and we have a great support team that can help set that up for you as well. In our data delivery solution, those services are included. Let's see.
I would just add to that most of the time, the first one is done manually. People want to go through and kind of work through the process manually and see how it all works and make sure everything's good. And the Gigasheet UI is very friendly to most practitioners, so they can go in and create their filter. And then once they're like, okay, these are the pipes. This is how I want the flow to go. Let's automate this. You work with us, and we make it go swimmingly.
Mm-hmm. Right. Here's another question, Steve. This one's probably for you, and it's talking about new columns. The insert explode JSON, which I know you're quite familiar with. Mm-hmm. So one thing background for the rest of the people on the call, one thing we didn't get into is actually Gigasheet can work with JSON files. So whether that's off of a cloud drive or just a flat a file you upload off your machine, Gigasheet flattens it automatically. And if there are some columns in your data set, and this certainly occurs in certain data stores that are JSON, we have this function called explode JSON, which explodes it out. And the question is, it's really useful, but usually there are multiple JSONs embedded, like a hierarchical structure. Is it possible to explode all, either with some kind of API or UI function? How do you handle that, Steve, when you have like very deeply nested JSON?
Yeah, for sure. That's super fun. We love when that happens. What you're going to want to do there is you're definitely going to want to use our API, and you're going to want to like essentially have a loop that goes through and continues to try to explode JSON when possible. You could do it in the UI. You're just going to have to run that process again and again manually, but it makes way more sense if you've got significantly nested JSON blobs to use an API call and hit it and then wait for it to finish and then hit it again and wait for it to finish and so on until you can't explode anymore.
Cool. Thanks. So that's that one. Let's see. There was one other question which I have lost now, but any other questions? Please hit us up in the Q&A and we'll be happy to answer them. Oh, yes, here it is. How is this priced? Will, do you want to take this one? I feel like I haven't given you enough questions.
Yeah, so we have, if you look at our website, we have business and enterprise offerings. Business is a scaled down version of enterprise. Our enterprise offering connects to your data warehouses, connects to your single sign-on, and has data governance options. So very customized option. The other offer that we mentioned was a data delivery option, which is if you're generally trying to distribute data to external sources, we will price that per number of clients you deliver to. So that offer will scale with your business. So as you add external clients or customers, the price goes up. So that's but way cheaper than building a portal. So those are sort of the three offers we covered today were business, enterprise, and data delivery.
Yeah, and business and enterprise is pretty typical. Like you pay per creator user, which is like somebody with full edit rights who can configure the different database, data store connections, whether you're pulling in from Salesforce or HubSpot or our database. And then analysts. So analysts would be kind of like when Will was showing you the consumer view. Analysts can slice and dice the data. They can group and aggregate and perform other functions, but they are more restrictive in terms of like data editing and things like that. Yeah, so good questions. I think that's it for the questions. So we'd love to talk to you if you're interested to try it. Please hit us up. You can schedule a demo. You can email us at sales@gigasheet.com, or if you have technical questions about using the product, hit us at support@gigasheet.com. We'd be happy to put together a customized demonstration for you or a free trial, as I mentioned. Thanks for joining, everybody.